adult, which is a grown fly that looks more like a moth, and it has 10th wing, and we're going to tie it on a size 14. Now, the unusual thing about this fly is going to be the wing material. But we'll get there in a second. Let's just pick up a number 14 hook. I'm not hung up on any particular hook. In general, most of the hooks today are very good, high carbon, light wires. So any one of the hook would do. I believe I'm using it's either Daiichi or a Tiemco, and Mazda with the new series come out with some great hooks as well, so any one of the hooks will work for you. But I want them to have 2x long, because the body of this fly is a little bit longer. And again, we'll wrap the whole shank of a hook with thread to form a firm base, so materials will not slide once you place them there. Then we'll select a hackle. This genetic hackle that these places are coming up these days with are so magnificent and so long that with one hackle you may be able to tie a whole entire fly, or 2 or 3. And this hackle is going to give me all this particular feather, all the hackle that I need for this fly. I'm just going to trim a little bit and help us create a good grip by trimming some of the barbules. We're going to tie it so with the shiny side down, so when you wrap this fly forward, the barbules of this feather will be pointing forward. To give you a better flotation. Now the next thing we do is to dab the body. For that we're using polypropylene. Again, there's so many in the market. This is a super fine polypropylene, and so many of them are made, and I use a lot of the Fly Right products, but there's many others in the market that are fantastic products that you can use. Polypropylene has the property of being hollow, so it floats. Now, again, instead of using a wax, I would use a floating paste. Now, let's just talk about it for a second. The paillette floating from Loon, there's many other companies that make them, will work just fine. And if you are going to use wax, think about it. When you use wax to dab a dry fly, you are probably taking about 50% of the floatability of the material off, because you're caking in with the wax the property which is a hollow fiber. So if you're going to get to the river and fish it, you're going to put floatant anyway, so why not use the floatant right off the bat and use it to dab with? If you get extra floatant in your fingers, you just pick up your feathers and just clean them.
How are you, sir?
Clean them on your feathers, okay? So something that worked very well. All right. I like to make a very thin rope with my dabbing, and I'd rather do that than take my time and come up with some good control of the size of the look of the body, which eventually is going to look like a cigar shape. So you pick up a little bit at a time and apply this dabbing wherever you think you need it best. And we're going to go back from the middle of a hook all the way to the beginning of the bend of a hook in the top part, and provide that insect with a nice juicy abdominal section, you know. And we can put a little bit more yet in there, you know. But it's better to do in small amounts than try to put the whole big gaps of dabbing. And then you will lose shape and control. And symmetry is very, very important. Think about it that a fly that has symmetry it's a well-balanced fly. Therefore, more than likely it's going to float properly, and that's important. You want to have a draft-free float with a fly that is balanced well in the water. Can ask for much more than that. I just wanted to make that more juicier looking, huh? Make sure that that fish is convinced this is a good morsel of food. Then we're going to wind the hackle, leaving a little separation between one and the next. And when we get here, we're just going to tie it underneath. And I'm going to leave it there and out of the way. Now, I'm going to dive a little bit more. Because this is going to help me place the wing. There. The wing is going to be made out of a gift ribbon material, the curling type of ribbon. And what we do is take the curl out by running over the scissors several times. Straighten them out. Then we're going to cut a piece slightly larger than the fly we're tying, about half an inch. Make a cut. Okay. Then we are going to fold this in half, lengthwise, the length of the ribbon. The first cut we're going to make is going to be from the open part to the ridge. And we're going to curve the scissors as we start cutting in an angle. So my scissors are not cutting. Okay. Curve them as you go. There. Now you have the angle. Then you're going to turn it upside down and cut a little bit slightly, like so. And the third cut is going to go all the way to the tip of that, that material. Now it will look something like this. Now we're going to place this on top of the fly and measure it. So we make sure that the wing goes beyond the bend of a hook, and this top of the tent is going to be in line with the curve of the hook. So whatever is left over right here, we're going to trim. And we're going to trim in an angle to make it easier to be affixed. There. Okay. Now let's put it on the hook. If you need more trimming, then you do it then, and I think I do. I want something a little bit lighter than that.
And then put it on a turner.
There we go.
Okay.
There. These are just details. I think sometimes I sit down and cut a lot of these wings while I'm watching TV. Just keep cutting and put them in a container. Now, as in any hard material, when you tie flies, it may have the tendency sometimes to flutter and give you a twist on the line. And this fly won't do that until the wing will split, which sometimes it does. If it does, just to avoid any, what you call that, a corkscrew style of a problem on your leader, you tie the fly with a loop, okay, and that will take care of all that. Now let's do a little bit more of this dabbing. Now, okay, by doing this dabbing, we're going to do two things for us, if not three. What's going to do is going to bury, as we wind the hackle, the stem inside the dubbing, so we'll protect it from the teeth of the fish. It also will force the filament or barbules of the feather to stand straight. Those are two good properties that will help the fly to stay dry and floating high longer. Now I'm just going to turn this upside down a little bit,
Then you use what? Just,
go around the thread and tie it off. There.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All which needs to do is now whisk finish it. We're going to put all the barbules back. I'm just going to put a little bit of this paste on my fingers. You can wet your fingers as well, but this is a dry fly, so I'm going to use my fingers to pull it back.
And you're just using what, a little small X-Acto saw or something to cut your notch here?
That's allow me to make a pretty clear head. There's always a couple of fibers that are going to stay in place. We'll deal with those in a minute. There. So all we have to do now is just whip finish. Okay. I hardly use cement and dry flies. If you would finish well once or twice, you may avoid altogether putting cement. I glue very little on the flies. I trust that the knots I make and the pressure I have put onto the will hold them in place. Let's take a good look all the way around.